where our mission is about transforming lives and inspiring people to make a positive difference. My name is Charlie Carr, and I'm going to be the platform assistant today. Please take a moment, silence your phones, and also, if you want to, check in and tell the world that you are here. We want to begin our time together today by sharing our opening affirmation. I'll say it once, and then I'll ask you to repeat it with me. There is only one presence and one power active in my life and in the universe, God the Good. Together?
There is only one presence and one power active in my life, God the Good.
This is Unity's foundation principle. One presence, one power, one life living through and as each of us. This morning we are going to hear from Dr. Gary, who will be sharing the Sunday message entitled, Don't Believe a Word I Say. And Dr. Jane will be doing the meditation. And today we are blessed to have Michael Robinson here today to do our Sunday music. So I invite you to stand if you can and sing along with our community song.
Heart to heart, hand in hand, every voice in every land, the vision's clear, one family. God works through every heart and mind, it's up to me. We love those near and far away in harmony. We act and pray. We share our dream for all to see. The peace I give, the peace I live, it's up to me. So lift your voice, God works through you. We change the world through what we do. The earth is all one family. I'll be the peace I want to see. It's up to me. Last line. I'll be the peace I want to see. It's up to me.
Good morning. My name's Linda Tweedy, and I have the announcements. Number one, Course in Miracles class by David starting Wednesday, January 9th, 10 o'clock in the morning. Be there or be square. Oh. Then the next week on Tuesdays, Jane starts her new Do Lunch spiritual book study at 11:30. And the Q process is taking place on January 26th with Serena. If you are interested, please register. There's a form in your handouts today, and prepay at the bookstore. Town Hall meeting, January 27th at 1 p.m., preceded by the Youth Benefit Lunch. And a little extra from me, the Sisters in Spirit are meeting this next Saturday at 1 o'clock, and they have Mary True doing a talk on integrating meditation into your career. So all of you ladies who've never tried the Sisters group before, come on out on Saturday. Thanks.
This is Center Update with Dr. Gary. An opportunity.
I can't hear you. Yeah, Gary, turn on your
Turn on your head. Just check to make sure the sound folks are. Now we got going. Okay. All right. So
This is Center Update with Dr. Gary, an opportunity for me to share a bit about what happens behind the scenes, things that aren't necessarily apparent via our community announcements. And so today I just want to mention a couple of things. We're in the process of getting ready for our annual membership meeting, preceded by our town hall meeting. And each year, everyone who is a governing member needs to renew their membership. And so we've asked those of you who are governing members to renew, and many of you have. And so for those of you who haven't yet, we'll be sending you, mailing your renewal form to return to us. And then we also are inviting those who are eligible for governing membership to make application and complete that application process by Wednesday this week. And so be sure and get those applications in. We've sent them out to everybody who is qualified, so if you received it, that's you've got what you need. Just get it back to us. And otherwise, if you're interested in membership in Unity, you can get a brochure that tells you all about our 2 phases of membership, community member and governing member, and what's entailed with respect to that. And you can get one of these at the welcome desk, or you can see anyone with a yellow scarf. And the second thing I want to mention is the Q Process workshop. So how many of you have gone through the Q Process? As you can see, it's a part of what we do here at Unity Spiritual Center, because it's a way to really experience what it means to transform your life and untether yourself from whatever is holding you back, whatever limitation you might be carrying. So I have a short, semi-short film that talks about what people experience, their experience in the Q Process workshop. So let's go ahead and dim the lights and we'll get that going.
I've never seen a process be so revealing, and having been a social worker for 40 years and done so many other trainings, I believe this has been one of the most profound experiences.
I have found in this Q process a person that was largely lost in my life, and it's caused me to laugh and to cry and to unabashedly love the whole universe is yours.
I think I just kind of went into it with just with the claims that I'd heard about it. And I went to the website and I looked at what was behind it, the science and quantum physics and neuroscience and truth principles and all those things. I knew all had sort of connections to breakthrough and to higher consciousness.
No, we're not making it up. It's actually real. It's not therapy. It's not touchy-feely. It's not. It's like real science.
Whereas before, the conversation, was about what the problem was, which so the external problem. That still goes on, but then there's also it doesn't end there. There's for most of us who really have taken this on and taken it with sincerity and see it as really being profoundly effective. Then there's another conversation that has to do with this is something that I need to look at and see what of me is causing this to be a problem.
What this process has taught me to do is, yes, look at the past, but just stay really present and know that the future can be different and will be different if I just stay present.
The biggest thing that I've got out of this was the ability to realize where my triggers were and to address those right out of the gate, so that going forward I don't have those same kind of triggers. And it was really awesome having my son participate in this exercise.
I have an aspect I have now, a tool and a understanding about myself and other people. So I truly am very grateful for this.
I was surprised that I did it. I was surprised that every night, and it was by the end of the week, it was our routine. Oh, it's 9:30. Okay, stop what we're doing because we're doing the Q process. And so that was nice.
Yeah, I often wonder how any of us have lived this long with all these triggers that and the error beliefs that we adopt along the way in these small ways. So just very, very grateful.
I had had this experience and started this work before I ever became a parent, because I think I could have been a better job of parenting if I had dealt with my own issues first.
Reverend Patrick calls me out I call Patrick out. It's a good process.
I do feel so much lighter, and resentment has disappeared. And I just, I don't know, I find it very, very helpful in relationship to just let it go and remain present.
Like, why am I telling myself that I'm not good enough? Like, why am I telling myself that I'm not loved?
Do the cue. Just do it. Just do it.
All right, so Serena is going to be facilitating the workshop on Saturday, and Jane and I, and we'll be doing the debriefing process as well, Serena. And so we just want to make sure you don't miss this chance, because for some of you who are wanting to become governing members, this is one of the qualifications. So do register, pre-register at the bookstore. It's $50, and it covers the materials as well as the debriefing sessions that follow. Thank you so much. We'll get started for our meditation experience.
I close my eyes and rest in silence. I feel the peace begin in me. God and I join together in our song peacefully. I close my eyes and rest in silence. I feel the peace begin in me. God and I join together in a song peacefully.
Good morning, everyone. Please join me in meditation. And today, for our meditation, we'll be practicing a meditative technique that Dr. Gary will be exploring during the talk. And part of what we'll be doing will include a longer time of silence. Today we'll do a full minute. And during that time of silence, we'll be asking our heart a question. So just consider what that question might be. Keep it simple, doesn't have to be complicated. And during the silent time, we'll be listening for the answer. So let us join together as we settle into our seats. Get ourselves comfortable and release any cares or worries that we may have brought with us today. We just let them go as we begin to focus on the breath. Just watch your breath as it moves in and out. And let it slow down. And with each breath, relax a little more. And now move your attention to your heart. Just focus your awareness on the heart space. And as we move our attention there, we signal to our head that we're moving into a deeper place. And so as you continue focusing on your heart and slowly breathing, bring into your mind's eye someone that you deeply appreciate, or that you care about, or that you have great compassion for. And as you hold them in your heart, feel those feelings start to rise up. Feelings of appreciation, caring, compassion, empathy. Let them rise. Let them warm your heart. Let them fill your heart and spill over until it fills your body. Just imagine your entire body alive with this beautiful vibration, appreciation, gratitude, compassion, caring. And we let it expand and radiate beyond the body as we fill this sacred sanctuary with harmony and peace and gratitude. And we connect with the presence of spirit as we move our vibration to that awareness. So as we continue breathing into the heart, feeling these uplifting feelings, letting them expand, we ask our heart a question. The heart doesn't need the history. It just needs the question. And now we enter a time of silence as we listen. So we focus on our breath, knowing and trusting in this deeper intelligence of the heart, knowing that the guidance and the wisdom of spirit is available to us always. We just have to get still and listen. And for this opportunity to connect with that deeper dimension of who we are, to receive the gifts from Spirit, we give grateful thanks. And so it is. Amen.
I close my eyes and rest in silence. I feel the peace begin in me. God and I join together in our song peacefully.
Thank you, Michael. It's wonderful to have you here today.
Thanks.
Yes.
So I'm supposed to do the talk today.
Oh, that's right. Actually, I have a couple things to say before we begin. Is that okay?
Okie dokie.
Thank you.
Please do.
I read once that the evangelist Billy Graham spent his life trying to fix what was wrong with the world. And he did so at the cost of neglecting his family, his wife and his children. And then later on in his ministry, he realized that nothing had improved, no matter what he had done or had not done. In fact, it had gotten much worse. Things in the world had gotten worse since he started doing his work. So imagine having that realization, because he wondered, have I wasted my life? Have I wasted my ministry? And I really felt that when I read that. I really felt this heart connection with his anguish. Because I don't want to do that. I don't want to look back on my ministry and say, did anything I do make any difference? You know?
Yes.
Well, thank you for that. Thank you for that. I'm not up here asking you to say yes. I just want you to know what's been going through my mind lately.
She's going somewhere with it.
I am going somewhere. So in June of this year, will mark 20 years since I've been ordained. And thank you. Yeah. For Gary, it will be 39 years. Yes. And as I thought, and something else happened just recently, I turned 65 in December. So those things together, oh, you don't have to clap for that.
They're clapping for the new 40.
For the new 40, that's right, that's what I hear. Thank you. Maybe I'll just stay up here and do the talk.
That's okay.
Anyway, as I considered those things and thought about my ministry and about our ministry and the journey through ministry, and I wondered, over these years, these 20 years, what have I learned? What, if anything, have I learned? How much more do I understand spiritual principle? Has there been an increase in wisdom within me? Has my life been transformed in some way? And then I moved into how much of what I teach is relevant and has been relevant. Has sharing spiritual principle made a difference? And just where are we as a congregation? Where are we on our spiritual path? And so Gary and I sat down and we discussed this at length. And so we have decided to do a year-long series together. This is new for us. This is brand new. And the series is called Don't Believe a Word I Say. And the reason for that is not because we've been lying to you all along, no, but because it's time for our movement to really start proving these principles that we espouse. Would you agree? Yes, it is time. And so for that reason, for this entire year, we will be sharing ideas, teachings of the masters, exercises that can shift and transform our lives, and then inviting all of us to actually practice them and to put them into use. You know, I just read that Thomas Jefferson, when he was describing the unalienable right that we all have for the pursuit of happiness, that the word pursuit at that time did not mean to chase after. It meant to practice. So do you see, we all have this unalienable right to practice happiness. And so let's do that, shall we? We want to look ahead to a year of practicing being happy and joyful, practicing connecting with that deeper intelligence within ourselves, connecting with spirit, expressing more of that in our lives. So can we all agree that our time together, we will be much more active in our spiritual practice? Yes. All right.
Anything else?
So yes, a couple more sentences. So don't just believe something because you hear it from the pulpit. You know, in this age of fake news, we want to actualize our power of discernment and activate our own spiritual self-discovery so that we can just stop only talking about God and start experiencing God. Yes. So are you with us? Yes. Take it away, Gary.
So we're practicing something already. We're involved in some kind of practice. We're practicing the habits of our own being, as opposed to, you know, exercising ourselves from the routine of our yesterday self. We need to be in practice of actualizing what we want to bring forth as who we want to be in this world, what we want to walk around in the sense of who we are and what we're capable of creating. And so the part of the struggle is that we have to begin with a principle or an idea such as there's nothing and no one against you. There's just one presence and one power at work in your life. But don't believe us, because it doesn't matter what we say is true. It only matters what we have experienced as being what is true for us. And so how can we take a principle like there's one presence, one power, and experience the sense that everything's for us? Well, in order to arrive at that experience, we have to unravel, disentangle from all the ways in which we have our life as if it's against us. And we aren't taught how to do that in any school or class or any other activity, because that hasn't necessarily been the focus of our spiritual intent, of what it means to be in a spiritual path or way of life. And so when we bring together the science and the understanding of spiritual principles and what happens in our body-mind, we have a clarity with respect to what has to shift in order for us to authentically alter the conditioned aspects of what we are, what we've become in our lifetime of taking in our experience of life as if our life defines us, as opposed to who we are and what we're capable of becoming as we enter into our way of being with what we're having, as if we are the one unto our life. And so that's a big shift to be able to kind of all the way just step into just by hearing it. You know, when Jesus talked to his disciples, he was telling them things like, don't worry about your life. Look at the birds of the fields and the lilies. And how can we take those sayings and actually experience the truth of them independent of disentangling from our focus on our sense of not enough or our sense of unworthiness or our attention to what's not happening in the outer, that because of that we feel less than. And so part of our effort to really make 2019 a year where we actually actualize all that we're capable of becoming and being is recognizing that we just can't live in the awareness of these ideas and nod our head every time we come to church and affirm one presence and one power, and then walk out of the room having someone or something against us or having somebody the matter with us, because that doesn't serve the greater good of why we come together in spiritual community, because we need each other to be able to support the effort. It's hard to maintain spiritual practice because it's all inward focus. It'd be much easier for us to practice playing the piano because we'd have a sense that we're making progress, because we could see evidence of it. But the internal part of the practice part, the evidence doesn't come until there's the internal shift. And so that's what we need to be focused on creating, is those internal shifts. So I want to begin now with a short clip that's done by a research physician named Rene, I forget his name, we'll hear his name. Anyway, it's an experiment on the power of intention, the power of our being able to intend to bring forth something that lives authentically in the context of who we really are, as opposed to what gets created when we're living out of our sense of inadequacy or unworthiness. To be able to shift to a place to see that we have power to influence our experience in life if we come from the context of our sense of wholeness and worth, as opposed to separation and the disconnect. So let's check this out. And by the way, I forgot to say that I wanted to read this. I can't see it from back there. Our perceptions are not just observations of reality, they are also creators of it. So how we see our experience helps create what we're having. And here's a little research project that helps us understand it.
Perhaps one of the more interesting experiments showing the power of intention and perception was one reported by a French researcher named René Piaget. In his experiments, he built a robot that contained a computerized movement generator that would make the robot move randomly. He then put it into an arena that he built that would track the movements of the robot. As you would expect, the robot would over time cover most of the entire arena through its random movements. But when René Piaget hatched baby chicks next to the robot, to make the baby chicks think the robot was its mother. And then he placed the baby chicks next to the arena so that they could see the robot, but couldn't move towards it. The intentions of the baby chicks to be close to the robot influenced the random computer movements and caused the robot to move only in the half of the arena closest to the baby chicks. Think about that. If the intentions and perceptions of baby chicks can influence the behavior of a randomized computer robot in its environment, imagine how your thoughts, perceptions, and intention may be influencing yours. Science is beginning to establish that our minds literally create our reality.
And so if a baby chick that has an itty bitty bitty brain can get a random number generator to come towards it because it believes that that's its nature, that's its mother, what can we do with our big brain? Well, that's the point. The point is that there's power in mind and consciousness and intention, and if we are not using that consciously, intentionally, we're missing the capacity to really have impact on our life. And so in Unity and New Thought, we specifically have a foundation principle that says we create our own personal reality through our thoughts, our beliefs, how we feel, how we're being with what we're having, what we're making our life mean. All of that creates what we're having. And so we literally have our life for us or not, as opposed to our life is against us. No, we literally have our life how it is unto us. And when we recognize that, then we must ask the question, if my thoughts and beliefs and feelings and how I'm being with what I'm having through my life patterns and choices, if that's affecting the quality of my life, wouldn't it be important for me to understand what's informing my thoughts, my beliefs, my sense of what I think or know about myself? What is giving me that insight, that information? Is it coming from out there? Which probably the answer is yes, because we're so affected by what's happening out there. If our sense of our well-being was coming from within, the things that would happen out there wouldn't bother us so much. Because we're not missing our connection to our sense of wholeness and worth, the place within us where all of what matters comes from. And so as we recognize that we have to, in the integrity of spiritual practice, understand how we co-create what we're having as our experience. Once we understand that that's the way it all works, we have to abandon the story that explains how we're having our life. Because the story keeps it encapsulated in our consciousness, and we continue to replicate the evidence that that story is grounded in. And so in order to exercise ourselves out of the story, we need a different dimension of self to access that informs the part of us that is replicating our past through our habits of being and the circuitry that perpetuates that. And so we have to understand what is the mechanism of consciousness, what informs those aspects of ourself that are generating our own personal reality. And so as we begin to look at that question, we understand that our sense of a self-identity, our sense of beingness, is in the context of this body-mind process. And, you know, we look at Scripture and we hear the admonitions. Yeah, speech impeachment, thanks. So Apostle Paul says, you know, be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. So they didn't have any brain science back then. So when they talked about the mind, it was more than just the head. And when Paul would say, let that mind be which was in Christ Jesus be in you, he wasn't talking about a bunch of ideas. He was talking about a consciousness, a connection to a greater sense of self that lives in the identity that I am. That I am. I am a child of God, or I am that which God has sent. If you see me, you see the Father who has sent me. That consciousness that Jesus that we attribute to Jesus, we need to understand in the context of what is the marriage of the head and the heart, because that's the mind that Paul was describing, that we want to allow to happen in us in order for us to activate and access that dimension of ourself that's not tethered to the past. And so we can look at the head and we can say, well, our brain, basically, its superpower, what makes it work so good is that it has the capacity to differentiate. But the unintended consequence of that is that it creates other. It creates a sense of other out there, a sense of separation, and therefore it is compelled to predict and control, to have things be a certain way in order to be able to function efficiently. And therefore, then the ego arises in the context of all the circuitry that happens inside of our head. But then there's the dimension of the heart, which is something that is just now coming into the vanguard of science and the marriage of quantum science, understanding the essence of the heart, not just as a physical pump that lives in our body, that is for generations a metaphor of this dimension of ourself that is infinitely eternal, but that the heart has actual neurological circuitry, and science now identifies the heart brain, the little brain in the heart. It's one of 3 brains now identified, 3 neurological nexuses in the body, such as the head, the heart, and the gut are the 3 brains. And when we understand how they all work together, and that we have to consider that the mind that we're wanting to engage or at least activate, it's just not living in our head, because that's the circuitry of separation. Our heart is a circuitry of oneness. Our heart is what unifies, what reconciles, which forgives. Our heart is what integrates. Our heart is what gives us a portal, a connection to our authentic or higher self. And when we access the power of the heart, and when we understand that the dimension of our heart is more than just a pump, but actual circuitry that informs how our brain operates, how it is capable of bringing a kind of coherence between the left and right hemispheres, and how it helps decompartmentalize the way in which our brain operates just by becoming coherent in the heart. When we understand the science behind this, we can see why, as HeartMath has researched and identified, how heart coherence has enabled people all over the world to accelerate their learning, their creativity, their productivity, and their well-being simply by having the practice of including their heart in any kind of cognitive decision or choice-making process. Can't believe all that came through. All right, here's another movie. Okay, I went by it. Oh, yeah, okay, I'll tell people what's coming. Thank you. So the movie that's coming is a movie done by Greg Braden, who's written a great book called Human by Design. Jane and I have just completed reading it, and it's all about how we have been designed to be able to transcend any earthly obstacle. We've been designed to be able to be bigger than any situation that we might have as a challenge. And when we understand the science behind why that's so, we will begin to be more motivated to activate that. And so here's a nice, really well-done movie that basically represents what we're trying to create together as this energetic field of heart-centered coherence, and know the power of what happens when people of like mind generate this kind of coherence and what is possible. So that's the introduction. All right, here we go. Yes, it's coming, I promise.
When a certain number of people come together and they choose in a moment of time to create a precise emotion in their hearts, that emotion literally can intentionally influence the very fields that sustain the life on planet Earth. These fields are now implicated in everything from the immune response of humans throughout the planet, climate, weather patterns, cycles of war and peace, our ability to solve problems, our cognitive abilities. All of these, as different as they sound from one another, are all linked to our relationship to the magnetic fields of the earth. So what makes this so beautiful is every human on the planet is linked to the field, but not every human on the planet has to be consciously aware of their relationship to benefit from what a relatively few number of people come to understand. And the bottom line is this, is that when we choose to feel feelings that create what is called coherence in our bodies. Coherence is the language, the quality of the language between our heart and our brain. Certain kinds of heart-based experiences, such as appreciation, gratitude, forgiveness, care, compassion, those are the ancient understandings that have always been taught in the truest traditions of our past, and now our own science is finding that those same traditions are now documenting this very real effect in our hearts. When we can feel those feelings in our bodies, they're mirrored in the field, and everyone benefits from the experience of relatively few.
So that's what we're doing every time we do our meditations. We're doing a heart lock-in. We're becoming coherent. And as we create the energetic field, then we create a dynamic where we become modulated by the coherence that we create together, as opposed to being modulated by the separation that we walk in here with. And so if we're not working energetically with our way of transforming our lives and working in spiritual practice, we're not including our body and our mind and the drivers that bring those systems into coherence and balance. So Dr. Childrey, who is the founder of the Institute of Heart Math, and by the way, there's so much research now on the power of the heart, how the heart itself, once again as a brain with a nervous system, has precognitive capacity. That's why it's intuitive, because it senses things 5 seconds before it becomes even apparent to our eyes, to our brain. And so the research shows that the heart knows before the head is able to even make sense of things. That's why if we have a practice of going to our heart, we activate an intuitive dimension. And when we understand that our heart knows, but it doesn't necessarily tell the brain. It doesn't necessarily tell the brain what it knows until we connect the heart to the brain. And that's the missing piece. We just think that the heart should just do that automatically. Well, it does things automatically. That helps regulate the efficiency of our brain. But if we want the wisdom of the heart, we have to connect the brain to it, just like connecting your USB cord into the power slot. Since emotional processes work faster than the mind, it takes a power stronger than the mind to bend perception, override emotional circuitry, and provide us with the intuitive feeling instead. It takes the power of the heart. And so we're wanting to actualize a dimension of ourself that has the power to inform our awareness as to the field of possibilities. Absent of that, our awareness is focused and derives its intentionality out of our fears, our inadequacies, our insecurities. Our heart has no context for any of that stuff. It doesn't know any unworthiness or any inadequacy. It just knows it wants to connect. It wants to create. It wants to heal. It wants to prosper. And when we add that voice to the conversations as to how we're going to be with what we're having, something else occurs that is independent of our fears or insecurities. And until we practice and make a habit out of that, we won't know that that's the case. You know, Jay and I talk about all the examples we have of just intentionally applying these principles. There was this one woman who came to us. We were working with, doing a workshop at some church, and she wanted our time, and we were tired, and we were needing to leave, and I wasn't as far as long or evolved as I am right now, and I said, you know, just ask your heart. I just told her to ask your heart, and we taught the technique, and she left pissed off, and I just really didn't care. And then she came back the next day and she said, thank you, because the answer she received, which was about her kids, couldn't have come from any advice that I would have been able to give to her. It had to come from there. And when we understand that there is a dimension of ourself that knows what is best for us, and it lives independent of what we think is what's important, then it's as if we're sitting at the feet of our master. And who would not want to avail themselves? Well, I can see this as a part of me that doesn't want to hear that I should be more mindful in certain areas, or that I should take more responsibility, or I should stop complaining. And we all understand that there's this part of us that has as its aim to kind of derail any effort that we might make. But you see, that's the habit of the old circuitry. And once we access the heart, that voice fades. It doesn't have any substance to it. So we need to understand that when we're triggered, this is one of the better times to begin to practice activating the heart, because this is what happens in our brain. So when we have a perceived threat, the amygdala in our head sounds the alarm that there's a threat out there. Once again, the amygdala is a structure in the brain that would rather be wrong 99% of the time than miss the one time it failed to keep you safe. And so consequently, it's looking for evidence of what's against me all of the time. It's scanning. We're not thinking about it, but it is scanning all the time. And the moment something pops in, it's going to sound the alarm. And then when that happens, the thalamus wakes up the brainstem. If the brainstem is asleep, it's like your computer that's taking a nap. You have to wake it up. The same thing happens. And then after that, the brainstem sends norepinephrine throughout the brain. It's a neurotransmitter that helps all the circuits, our default mode network, the network that wants to protect us and make everything about us, that becomes turned on. The next thing that happens is the sympathetic nervous system signals the organs and muscles for the fight-flight response. It will shut down the digestive system, shut down the immune system, shut down the production of saliva, increase the closure of the eyes and focus, myopic and heart rate. Everything increases. We get prepared to fight or flee. Now this is neurologically. It may be just someone judging us out there. And then the hypothalamus prompts the pituitary. The pituitary prompts the adrenals to release cortisol and adrenaline, the stress hormones, and then within 2 seconds we're fully triggered and into our defensive posture or reactive behavior. Our body-mind is hijacked. And so we have 2 seconds. We have 2 seconds to move into our heart. Because when we move into the heart, we can cancel out this cascade. But it won't happen until you move your head out of whatever it is engaged in and place it right there physically on your heart. And if you have to go like this, you need to do that. Okay, what do you think they do this for? It's to remind them. I can't believe I did that either. All right, for some reason what's happening here? Okay, so I need to finish up here. So there's the 5 steps of asking your heart the question. And so the reason why I want us to learn these 5 steps and why it lands on asking your heart the question is because to ask your heart the question takes it to the next deeper level. You can do the first 3 steps and achieve a kind of quick coherence that settles your nervous system and entrains your body processes to be more even. But you don't necessarily begin to develop the conditioning of the relationship to go to your heart in the context of life situations. So this practice enables you to intentionally ask your heart a question and listen for the answer, so you begin to build the awareness of how that circuit works. Bless you. So you need to be able to ask a question and then feel or sense a shift in your body. And in the beginning, that takes practice because we're trained to think, oh, I must think that differently now. No, it's to notice how we've shifted and to notice what we're feeling. So we focus on our heart. We actually, as Jane mentioned, we have to intentionally say, okay, I'm placing my awareness now on my heart. And what this does, it trains you, gives you a technique. When you're caught up in some kind of life situation, just do this. and then begin the practice. You can leave that part out. And then slow your breathing. So we ask you to focus on your heart, and if you just simply breathe rhythmically and slow it down a little bit slower than usual, neurologically you begin to shift from your sympathetic nervous system to your parasympathetic nervous system. You move from beta to alpha brain waves. So there's things that happen that help you out neurologically. And then you need to feel a rejuvenating feeling such as care, compassion, appreciation, gratitude, compassion, empathy, just as we practice. And then finally, you need to ask your heart the question. You just have to make it simple. And remember, your heart doesn't need the backstory. It's not encumbered by all the baggage that your head has to offer. So just ask your heart. You know, when people come to us in counseling or to get support, they have to tell us the story. And then we hear the story, but we don't know what their innermost being needs. All we can do is help them embrace what they're having and know that it's for them. But if you just try going to your heart and asking the question, that is so powerful. So that has to be experienced. And then finally, you have to listen for the answer. Okay, so here's the slide that gives you the actual steps. If you want to take a picture of this, this is what I do. I don't know why this...
Can you go back for a second? Yes.
Okay. Why is that happening?
You can also get it streaming.
Okay. All right. Okay, so I don't know, my computer's blocking out this part right here, but the first step is allow your awareness to move from your mind to the area of your heart. Let's do that. Begin to breathe a little more slowly than usual, about 5 or 6 breaths per minute for each, 5 or 6 seconds per breath. And then to the best of your ability, to feel a genuine sense of care, appreciation, gratitude, or compassion. And then ask your heart a question, and then be aware of how your body feels immediately as you are asking the question. So next Sunday is my opportunity to speak again, and I have to feel guided with respect to what I'm going to share. So I don't have a sense specifically of the next thing, but suffice to say that this series is really about us kind of looking at what we're describing as the path, and then really being clear as to why it is that this is important for us to really understand and value. And then what is the practice? What are the incremental steps that we can apply to being able to move the needle so that we can actually see that we can make progress? And then my goal, and I want partners in this. If you want to do this with me, I'm wanting partners. My goal in 2019 is to live with ease and grace. And that means I have to release any sense of scarcity, judgment, and struggle. If you're wanting to release your sense of scarcity, judgment, and struggle, then practice this for this next week, and then we can check in and see how you all are doing. How does that sound? God bless you all.
Thank you, Gary. Well, unity stands for peace in the presence of conflict, for love in the presence of hatred, and for forgiveness in the presence of injury. Unity honors the many names for God and the many paths for God, for we know there is only one power, one presence, and one life. So whoever you are and wherever you are on your journey of transformation, you are always welcome here. This morning we would especially like to thank or welcome anyone who is here for the first time, and if you are willing to, we'd like you to raise your hand so our ushers can provide you a packet of information. So on the outside of that packet is a form that you can fill out and be added to our mailing list for weekly e-newsletters. Do we have one more up front? Yep. We have one more up front. This gentleman right here, Alan. And if you're interested, please fill it out and drop it in the love offering bag as it comes around instead of giving a donation today. You can also take that packet to the bookstore and get a copy of today's service, and the bookstore is directly straight across from these doors here, as well as go to the barista stand and get a beverage of your choice. And if you have any questions, we do have some welcome team members there wearing the yellow scarves, and feel free to ask them any questions that you might have, and we are certainly glad that you were here. So now's the time for us to welcome and greet each other with a handshake, a hip bump, a high five, or a hug. Anything that you feel comfortable with.
Hello, hello, there we go. We are all friends here. There are no strangers once you walk inside that door. We welcome you to linger in our family of love and hold you in our hearts the way you are. We are all friends here. There are no strangers once you walk inside that door. We welcome you to linger in a family of love and hold you in our hearts the way you are.
I need a bigger gong this year, obviously. Good morning. My name is Jim Sledge. I have the privilege of being the treasurer on your board of trustees, and this is a time in our service where we welcome and receive your contributions to our financial abilities to keep this church going and keep this ministry going. Let's agree to make 2019 the year where we practice prosperity. And in the terms of what Jane said, in terms of pursuit meaning practice. So we know we all have the potential to practice prosperity. So let's take that into our hearts and share our prosperity blessing together. I know that my giving blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I receive, and all that I give and receive. I give thanks for the abundance that is mine to share, and so it is.
Reach out your hand, I'll be there in the darkness. When you find you need a friend, we'll share the words, the music and the melody of a song that never ends. Call my name in your time of trouble. I will hear your voice and I will come to you. I'll bring my peace and my willingness to help you, to heal your heart and make your dreams come true. Reach out, I'll be there when I hear you calling. Reach out, I'll be there when I see you falling. Reach out, I'll be there, you won't have to worry. Reach out, reach out, reach out. There's no need to feel sad and lonely. You are surrounded by a world of love. You'll find answers to each and every question. Find the promised land you've been dreaming of. See the light glowing on the horizon. See the colors as they come to life. Feel the freedom stirring in your heart space. Prepare for feasting with your spiritual folk and night. Reach out, I'll be there when I hear you calling. Reach out, I'll be there when I see you falling. Reach out, I'll be there, you won't have to worry. Reach out, reach out, reach out. Everyone will find the perfect answer. Everyone will understand in time. Take a step and you become the dancer to the rhythm and the rhyme. Reach out, I'll be there when I hear you calling. Reach out, I'll be there when I see you falling. Reach out, I'll be there, you won't have to worry. Reach out, reach out, reach out. Yeah, reach out, I'll be there when I hear you calling. Reach out, I'll be there when I see you falling. Reach out, I'll be there, you won't have to worry. Reach out, reach out, reach out, reach out, reach out. Woo! Reach out.
Thank you, Michael. It's always wonderful to have you here. Thanks. Appreciate it. Thank you. And we also give thanks for these gifts and for those who have given them as we send them forth to bless our world. And so it is. And as we are giving thanks for the gifts we are receiving at Unity Spiritual Center, we want to take time to thank those in service to our ministry. And today we are saying a great thank you to those that are involved and assist at Crosswalk. So we know Diane is a big part of Crosswalk. Anybody else that has helped out with Crosswalk, please stand up, and we'd all like to recognize and acknowledge you. We are grateful for your service.
Jane Geisel is very thankful about making prayer scarves to give to Crosswalk.
Thank you. Yeah, we'll acknowledge Jane as well. Thank you, Sue. So our chaplain today is Diane. Is there anybody? And Kathy. All right. Well, Diane has been in the been holding the entire service in prayer, and so the chaplain does that at every service. So if there's ever anything heavy on your heart, or is there something exciting and special that you would like to share, Kathy or Diane are here to hold that in prayer with you. They will be up at the front of the sanctuary right after service. Thank you both for your gifts. We also have prayer request forms that are in the packets, or in the pockets in the chair in front of you. If you'd like, you can fill out one of those, and we have a prayer box up here behind me as well as one out in the foyer. If you want to put one in there, it will be prayed over for 7 days here, and then the prayers will be sent to Silent Unity, and they'll be prayed over for another 30 days. We also have in the pockets in front of you a form that is for if you know of anybody that is in the hospital and would like to be visited by a chaplain. You can also fill that out and put that in a prayer, one of our prayer boxes as well. And we already had our meditation. Is there another meditation after this? Okay. So if you're ever interested, there's a meditation between services at 10:15 in the chapel. And I think I see some children starting to come outside. So let's welcome in our kids.
We are walking in the light, in the light, in the light. We are walking in the light of God. In the light, 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 in the light of God. More kids? More coming? We are walking in the light, in the light, in the light. We are walking in the light of God. In the light, 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 in the light of God. We are walking in the light, in the light, in the light. We are walking in the light of God. In the light, 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 in the light of God.
Well, it's birthday Sunday today, so if anybody has a birthday that they'd like to be acknowledged for in January, whether it's already come or Jan, you're the only one here. Do any of you kids have a birthday in January? Jan, we are all going to focus our attention on you and sing happy birthday to you.
Okay, comes. We got more gang coming. Woo! In the light of God. There they come.
All right.
For Jan, here we go. Happy birthday, we love you. Happy birthday, may all your dreams come true. When you blow out the candles, one light stays aglow. It's the love light in your eyes where you go.
Happy birthday. Well, we are very grateful for you, the young ones here, including the middle-aged young ones as well. So let's bless our kids, and then after that, let's turn that around and bless ourselves. Be the love you are, sing the song you hear, share your joy of life with people far and near. And for ourselves.
Be the love we are, sing the song we hear, share our joy of life with people far and near.
All right, you guys, go find those who brought you and give them a really big hug. And tell them there are only 360 days till Christmas. And I just want to say that it was my intention for the Cowboys to win yesterday. That's right. All right, please stand if you're able to join us in our closing prayer, followed by our peace song.
And the
love of God. The power of God protects us.
I am the power of God. The presence of God watches over us. I am the presence of God. Wherever we are, God is, and thou is well.
That's the truth. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be with God our Creator. Family all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my solemn vow to take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
Remember, don't believe a word we say.
Thank you for being a friend to me. Thank you for being a friend, my friend. I always needed a friend, don't you see? Thank you for being a friend. Life is a challenge, life